The person you are calling is not available. Please leave a short message and it will be sent as an audio message.
Hey Kev, it's Woody. Just calling to say hi, man. Hope you've been well. I miss you, mate, and would love to catch up for a lemon squash if you're free. Love you, man. See ya.
For those of you that don't know, this is Kevo. He's a 1997 VR Commodore that Al and I were building together as a drag and drive car. Since Al has retired from YouTube, I retained custody and I'm at a stage where I've built enough motivation to finish this bad boy off. It's a pretty awesome car. We've got a built 2JZ GE, a built Power Glide and a 40 spline 9-inch up the back. Since we left off, we've got a build series on the car, episodes 1 to 8. We got the vehicle to a stage where we're pretty well ready for paint in the engine bay. But it's been so long since then, I don't even know where we're up to. I've stolen heaps of parts off this car, so for now what I actually want to do is piece it back together, make sure we actually are ready for paint. There's stuff like brake lines still need to get done, the coolant overflow I'm not happy with, I want to change that. And generally just get the car pieced back together so I can work out in my head what else we need. When we left off, we actually sent the car to Matt Rogan. So since then, a few things have changed. We've got some Raceworks seats mounted in the car now. These aren't the seats that are staying in there. We've actually got some with different material, but Raceworks seats mounted on Raceworks rails. Matt Rogan also fitted up a shifter in the center there with a whole new tunnel, I suppose you'd call it, made out of sheet metal. We've got an electric throttle pedal mounted in the car, as well as a Willwood brake pedal, and the reservoirs are mounted up under the dash. Matt's done some roll cage work, so the taxi bar's been fitted back in the car because the oafs that were driving it previously couldn't fit, so they had to have the seats all the way back. And we've also got chassis connectors up under the car too. So a little bit of fabrication work done by Matt at Rogan Industries. So that was after we left off at episode 8. And then since then, the car just sat. It sat in Al's carport. I then had it here in the shed. I've had it up on the hoist over here. I moved it a few weeks ago to start piecing things together and work on it. I thought that, you know, giving it a wash and moving it around would give me some motivation. And it's worked. And here we are. So ready to start piecing this thing together again. Make a plan. I really don't know where to start. There's so much to do, but I've got boxes and boxes of stuff up on the shelves there. We've also got to get the wiring finished off. So the engine bay wiring was done by Whitey, but it stops at the firewall. So I'm probably going to get my mate from Miller's to come around. We've got battery stuff to do, headlights, tail lights, keypad, dash, all the rest of it. All that needs to get wired. So lots and lots and lots of work. Painting probably is the most time consuming, which I'm going to try and call some friends around to help me out with. I've got a bit of a colour scheme plan to go on with this thing, engine bay wise and inside. We did a bit of a giveaway, I don't know what episode that was, but we kind of said, hey, guess what colour? There was so many comments about Sherbrooke green, and that's what the factory colour of this car actually is. It's a really cool colour. And I don't know if I subliminally made me think, is that the right word? Subliminal messaging made me think about it, but that's the colour I'm going for. Originally I was thinking purple, I don't know where I got that from, bright purple, but we're going Sherbrooke green in the engine bay, we're going Sherbrooke green on the roll cage, and then I've got some Car Builders TXT coating for everywhere else. We'll paint the inside TXT, underneath TXT, I want this whole thing to be kind of sealed up from bare metal. The exterior does present quite nice. It is old, it just needs a good buff. I think it will come up quite nicely, and if there's a few dings that I can't hide, maybe a wrap job down the side might finish it off. So there we go, that's Kevo, and I think all we need to do now is jump on the tools and hook in, get this thing pieced back together. Believe it or not, it's been over a year since we last worked on Kevo, and that's actually a big problem, mainly because I can't even remember where we left off and what was still required to be done before the engine can come back out. My game plan here is to piece the car back together and tick off a few jobs along the way. As I'm going along, I'm noting down anything that needs to get done so that I can complete that task before we paint the engine bay. I've devised a bit of a game plan. I've got everything laid out on the bench, as this is the plastic bench is the lifesaver. Lay it out on the bench and you know you got to fit it. This is pretty well everything that needs to go into the car, excluding the interior stuff. I want to put interior back in the car just so it is nice. Converter, there's a bunch of sensors and random Haltech stuff to go in. Linear position sensor for the shifter. We've got a dump valve, shifter cables, plasma clamps, starter motor, and a roll control, but a line lock valve, which is what I'm working on now. Pretty well under the car here is, you can kind of see the work that Matt's done. So I've just been trying to figure out where we left off and what there is to do, and starting making a list, writing everything down. You can see the tunnel that Matty Rogan's done, very nice work. This basically was because the tail shaft was very close. So GJD did us a single piece chromoly, it's an alloy tail shaft, and it fitted perfectly fine. It wasn't touching the floor, but I wanted to lower the car, and the easiest way to do that was just to cut the tunnel out so that there's enough clearance now for the tail shaft and the pinion on the floor. I've also incorporated a tail shaft hoop. I've also got a set of Shockworks coilovers for the front of this thing. So we've got fancy blue things in the back, don't know what brand they were, and then Shockworks in the front. And I've got like new bushes and stuff for the front ends too. So I want everything to be new, spick and span. Obviously get some new tyres on the front. I might change the wheels, don't know yet. We'll work these things out as we go and figure out if I've got enough money for it. So line lock valve, this can be mounted, meant to be mounted closer to the master cylinder, but I'm just going to put it down somewhere here, which makes it easy to wire straight up to the ECU, and it's just also out of the way. So I'm going to find a spot for it, maybe right here. Too close to the exhaust, maybe right, don't know, we'll figure it out and plumb this up, make some brake lines, and then go from there. Around in like that. The dual master cylinder has been mounted inboard of the firewall with the outlets just poking through. One of these circuits runs to the rear of the car via the line lock valve. The other master cylinder runs to the front brakes. I'm using 3/16 brake line with some Raceworks -3 steel nuts. These are readily available and makes it way easier when you're converting from 8 NPT out of the master cylinder. Making symmetrical brake lines can be tricky. If you've got some welding wire to make up a template, I highly suggest it. Also, don't forget the nut before you flare the tube. That is a bad time. Front brake line's done, but typical sidetrack factory. I'm doing a service on the Crown Wagon. I've got a little road trip coming up soon, so I thought I'd just check over the wagon, make sure I don't need anything. Sure enough, I do. The steering box I fitted is leaking. So I think it's just accumulation of heat. I think I will eventually change all this, but that's a one-day future job. I've also swapped the wheels back for the Southern Ways. These things look way, way better than the other ones I had on there. So loving these. Have fresh tyres all around and still playing with tyre size on the front too. So that's a 195/65 on the front on now an 8-inch rim and still 9.5 on the rear, but now with mega dish. Looks so good. Oh, there's the compressor. So yeah, these ones will go up in storage and take the Crown for a little hot lap tonight. A couple more Skid Factory side quests. My brother's been here installing some lights. This corner was so dark before, and now I don't even know how I was working previously. It was like pitch black. Now I've got spotties on the wall and also these LED panels underneath the pallet racking here. Really brightens this area up and I can actually work here without using torches. I've also had some brake lines made up, so thank you Athel for making these up for me. I've got 3 lines made. These 2 are for diff to caliper. The calipers are like just VSVR rear calipers, and they've just got a 10x1 banjo on one and a 10x1 flare nut fitting on the other end. So to mount these, I've also got another one on the diff which goes to the body, so I've got to make up a bracket, and that's where the Arc Droid has come in handy. I spent a day setting this up. I had to obviously mount the plasma cutter, the Unimig plasma cutter. I've mounted it up high out of the way, but then calibrating the machine was actually quite painful, and now that I've got it sorted, I want to try and use this as much as possible. Rather than using the grinder, I'm just going to try and use the plasma cutter as it is. I've been playing with it, playing with the settings. I've cut out plenty of brackets and a sign. I've been playing with like the feed rate in the machine and the cut depth to basically reduce the slag on the back of the cut. If you have any tips or you've got a cheat sheet with different material thicknesses, please help me out here. I don't really think I made much of a difference, but that's, I suppose, you learn the machinery that you've got. So the end result was basically this, which is just a bracket to hold the brake line in. I just got to get the clips, what do you call them? H-clips, I think they are. So I could have made this just out of some angle line. That would have been perfectly fine, but I wanted to use a plasma cutter and wanted to make it out of sheet anyway. I actually use this angle to make a couple of divots and basically hit it with a punch that creates strength in that join. So now this join is super strong. I've got to weld that to the body, but first I have to make the brake line from the line lock back to the diff. I'll then find the suitable location for this bracket, weld that on, and then the line from the diff that goes down to these lines of the calipers, I will make that out of solid, but I'm just going to wait and do that when the diff's on the ground. You can also just make these lines super long so that it tees off from the diff and runs just this braid, but I'm going to do it out of hard line up and over the housing, and I think it looks neater anyway, so we'll do that. Stoked to have the plasma cutter set up now though. This area slowly is forever changing. I need like a toolbox somewhere for tools and drill bits and whatever, but I think it's going to work out. This also is, I've cut this Tool Pro like tool stand down and welded it up. I'm going to fill this with water so that it reduces spark sprays, and I think I mentioned previously I want to put like a wall, like a plastic wall here or something, I don't know. As we go, I'll figure these things out. Basically, you don't want to throw sparks onto any cars, and this is just messy, dusty, the plasma cutter. So let's get on to making some more brake lines, get that sorted, and I think I'm going to start on some fabrication after that for the exhaust. Having a brake flaring tool is super handy. Not only can you do 3/16 brake line, you can also do 5/16, quarter, and 3/8 hard lines. If you don't have one, or you can't steal one off your neighbour Barry, go halves with your mates, chuck in some cash. It's a great addition to the toolbox that you'll definitely get some use out of. The exhaust fab on Kevo has already been completed. I just bolted up the rear section, which is 3.5 inch, and this is the 4-inch guard exit side pipe that Al made up. So basically, it came off the turbo, straight out the guard. I never was a fan of this guard exit side pipe. There is a 3.5 inch replacement, which basically joins up to the rest of the exhaust. 3.5 inch would probably be fine for, let's say, 1,000 horsepower. Being that we're going to be running over that, having 4-inch, the bigger the diameter, obviously, the better. I didn't like the guard exit side pipe. I still am going to run a side pipe, but it's going to be under the car, and I'm going to make it out of oval. So this is going to get lopped up. That's all I'm going to recycle is the top end of that. And I've got heaps of bends from Bend Brothers. So I've got 4-inch, 45s, 90s. I've got a 4-inch flex. Hopefully I can make that fit in there. And I've also got some oval tube. This is the same stuff we used on the burrito bus, and my plan is to run a 4-inch dump from the turbo, snake it around the steering column, then transition down into the oval pipe. I've then got to make up some pie cuts out of this oval and run an oval side pipe which exits underneath the door. That is the race exhaust system, straight down out the side. When it comes to street driving, you unbolt that and then bolt up to the rest of the exhaust. Kind of a similar setup to what it was previously, but instead of having a guard exit side pipe, it's now under the car, and to change the pipe over, you've got to jack the car up. Yes, it makes it harder, but for the most part, yes, this is a race car, and to begin with, it's probably just going to be a dedicated race car until I get the hang of the vehicle to then street register it and do some drag and drive events. So that's my plan. I know that 4-inch is going to be very, very tight around that steering column, but I'm pretty sure I can pull it off. So heaps of stuff to do. I've also got some 2-inch mandrels and tube for the wastegate. There's also, Ben Brothers do heaps of cool stuff like some sweet stainless steel brackets. I've got some stainless flat bar for some exhaust mounts off the bell housing and V-bands. I mentioned the flex bellow, or also a 3.5 inch to 4 reducer. So that is that. Super easy to order this stuff online now. I ordered this yesterday and it got delivered today, so I'm stoked with that. You can't ask for much more. You can also pick this stuff up from Ben Brothers on the north side of Brizzy. So, heaps of work to do. I've set myself a goal of getting this done by tonight, which is achievable. So, no more guard exit side pipe, in with the oval and out the bottom. Let's do it.
Oh, look what the cut dragged in.
It may seem like a bit of a waste cutting out Al's hard work, but being that I am now the sole owner of this vehicle, I would like it to be done my way, hence why I'm ditching the guard exit side pipe. I've also been enjoying some time on the TIG torch, and I wanted to test my skills, so what better way to do it than working on my own car?
Well, I was told I wouldn't be able to fit 4-inch down next to the steering column, and I'm pretty stoked that I made that happen. It was tight. It was also time consuming. I'm lucky that I had my mate Tom around to give me an extra set of hands to hold some pipe together. I do have to loosen the steering column to get the V-band clamp past it. Sorry, the V-band flange. It's just just doesn't fit. I did clearance the block a little bit so that I thought I could get it past there, but it's just, yeah, you have to just loosen off the column and then slip it past. So this is now ready to go back in, and then I can start on the oval side pipe, but I have to do a little rust repair first. This is my first time working with pie cuts. I want to give a shout out to Band Brothers for not only supplying the material, but Dave also gave me a heap of fabrication advice. Also, thanks to my mate Kyle from Parker's Shed and also Dave from FFM Fabrication. Both of these legends gave me a heap of advice when it came to working with pie cuts. I'm cutting the oval tube at 7.5 degrees, which gives me a 15 degree total. This results in a tight radius, but also not too many sections to weld up.
So I was about to start a mad time lapse, but I just broke I think I've broken 4 of these in the last 2 days. So if anyone's got suggestions for cups for a Unimig torch, please slide into the DMs, comment below. Or you can send me some, PO Box 551, Nambour 4560. Please don't break this one.
I purchased this budget welding turntable online. It was a bit of a gamble. It was very, very cheap. And truth be told, it's cheap for a reason. If you're going to buy one of these, definitely save your pennies and buy a better version. There's a few things wrong with this one, and I definitely can't see it lasting too long. On the plus side, it spins so fast that you can probably use it as a lathe if you wanted to.
I've underestimated the job and overestimated my skills. I have completed the job, but my original goal of getting it done in 1 day has now blown out to 3 days. It actually is a massive job. And when you're doing pie cuts, it's not just 2 welds on a mandrel bend, there's 6 welds there now. The oval pipe is beneficial for road clearance. This tucks it up really neat. I also did that quick little rust repair in the side here, so it gave me a bit more clearance, but I also had a few other tricks up my sleeve and just spoke to some friends. This is actually off like a bar bender, and it just so happens to be like the perfect diameter or radius of the oval pipe. So I was actually using that to like kind of straighten the pipe out and get it all one shape. The side pipe turned out really cool. I still have to make up a mount for this. I don't have any mounts left, so I'm going to order some mounts and get that done. Where it sits out the side, actually, in my opinion, is pretty badass and a lot better than the guard exit. It's fit for purpose for a race car, as I said, but I didn't love it, and I want to patch up the engine bay side. Everything looks nice. When it comes to racing the car, you unbolt the full exhaust and put this on. And then if you want to drive it on the street, you have this on. In a drag and drive situation, this center section here just drops off and this pipe can stay there. If you want to go faster, maybe gain some weight, you can unbolt it. This center section I had to redo. I did reuse this back section here, but I just had to redo it. This is now 3.5 inch, so it tapers down from 4 into 3.5, and kind of I moved the cat and tucked it up as high as possible. This is the lowest point right here, which is about 15 mil below the pan. So kind of good to have, as I always said, try and keep it as the lowest point in your exhaust, so it's a sacrificial thing. You can see the difference in color too, the difference in material. So this stuff's from Ben Brothers. It comes ready to weld. You can buy it either or, but straight out of the packet, it's clean, it's polished and ready to go. Compared to this other stuff, I'm not too sure where that came from. It's also way thicker, this stuff, so also heavier material. I'm really stoked with how this worked out. I've got 4-inch squeezed down through the steering column. You do have to unbolt the steering column to get that pipe in and out. I also have to add in a O2 bung in that pipe there. So now I'm going to pull this off. I've just got some tape on some parts where I do need to finish, so just to remind myself. So I'm going to pull this off and then work on the wastegate, and hopefully I can get that done. Set myself a goal today, and then I'll pull the engine out, ready to fully strip this car. This has got to get stripped right back for paint. I want to coat the underbody, I want to paint the engine bay, I want to paint the inside, so heaps of work to get done. But I'm frothing on the side pipe and the street exhaust. It turned out really well, so keep on keeping on, more fabrication, and then, I don't know, hold some turbos and inlet manifolds and take a thumbnail photo or something.
In the head. Fuck.
Get it, son. Nice.
Okay, and then it hit me in the head and I moved up.
How's that going for you, yeah?
Looks good.
You want fries with that shake? God damn.
The best thing is, once Tom's good at once Tom's good at welding, I'm going to make you do all of the exhausts. How about that? That's going to be hot in your hand. Oh. Exhaust fabrication is 99% there. I still have to make a mount up for the oval side pipe, but I've ordered a mount. I'll get that done later. I've got the 2-inch screamer pipe from the Go Fast Bits gate down. It goes around the other side of the column and out the side just into the wheel well there. I was going to plumb it in. It is a race car, so don't really need to. I don't know. It was also going to make the dump harder to get out. I realised I could actually get the dump pipe out underneath without undoing the column, so that is a win. Now I'm moving on to some cooling fans. I've got a pair of 12-inch Maraldine fans from Raceworks. These are kick-ass fans, in my opinion, best fan on the market. Not only do they have a really compact motor, but they're also super powerful, so that's a win. I've got 2 that fit on the fan shroud perfectly. The radiator we're using is just a sort by cheapest, I think it's R32 Skyline maybe, or possibly S13, I'm not actually too sure. Ooh, that sweet note of a JZ's just rocked up. The fans that this shroud come with are absolutely junk. They're not up to standard for a race car. So I'm going to use these Maraldines. They do have to be cut out. The fan shroud has to be cut out a little bit more. So I'm either going to spend an hour on Fusion 360 figuring out how to draw a circle to then put it on the plasma cutter, or I can spend 30 minutes on the die grinder and make a mess in the shed, even though I've just cleaned up. Not too sure what I'm going to do there. After that is done, I'm then going to pull the engine out. There's a couple of brackets that I want to weld on. I have got, I'll just grab this thing here. This is the, this is just base. This is a coolant expansion tank, but I'm going to use it as an overflow. It's 1.8 litres. So this is going to get mounted down on the chassis rail down the bottom, and to do that, I'm just going to weld this bracket onto the chassis rail. That is then going to run, the overflow from this is going to run to the back of the car, and I'm going to have a tank fabricated for the back of the car to catch coolant, auto trans, diff, and the engine breather too. So everything breathes from the back of the car. And then once the engine's out, after that we'll get the engine out, and then I can start on some paintwork, but I think that's for next week. So we'll get this done. And now that Geordie has arrived, I know he knows how to use Fusion 360, so you can show me how to draw a circle.
I can do a circle.
Sweet, done.
Nice work, Grommy. What's your hourly rate?
What's that?
Yeah, exactly right. For free.
That worked out really good. Got the fans a bit more, I don't know, a bit more sucking power. They fit perfectly fine. I probably want to put a bit of foam in between the shroud and the radiator to clear up that air gap, but for the most part, that is sorted. Now they're going to get put on the shelf because we actually are going to strip this engine bay down and remove everything off. The young fella's already made a start, so thank you, Gaz. And now it's turbo, manifold, inlet off, everything out of the engine bay because we are getting ready to paint this up. Who's going to pick out all the metal filings from your feet later today?
Probably you.
Probably not me.
That's not nice.
I don't even know. Maybe you should put on pallet.
Yeah, let's put it in the corner. No, you put it on there.
Stop.
You putting that back in there?
Yeah, catch this. I'm pretty well back at square one. There's still so much work to get done on this car. I did tick off a lot of jobs in the last couple of weeks, and just the little things, brake lines, welding up, a million pie cuts, and everything just takes time. And Kevo is a perfect example of your general project car that you work on, it gets pushed to the side, and you save up some more money, work on it again. I think everyone who has built a car has been at this stage where we worked on this car for so long. Originally, this was meant to be a buy it off the Hoff, slap in a 2JZ, let's go racing. And this build, like most builds, experienced some scope creep, and the general slap in a 2JZ, let's go racing turned into, well, hang on a second, this is a vehicle that represents the Skid Factory, so we want it to look nice, and that's why we're going to the effort of painting the engine bay. I want to paint the underside, I want to paint the inside. It's also a vehicle that represents the brands that we work with, so it can't just be slapped together and send it down the quarter mile. I want this thing to, one, run a fast time, but also look good doing it. It's the kind of vehicle you can pull up to in the pits and pop the bonnet and you look at it and go, wow, that's really neat, it's done well. So that's why I'm putting in the serious hours. I'm at the stage now where pretty well it's time to get very messy and get the bog out, get the Bondo and start filling in some holes, sand for days, and then lay down some paint. So the engine bay, I've mentioned it, it's going Sherbrooke green, it's an awesome color. The underside of the car, I've got some Car Builders TXT coating. That will also be put on the inside of the car, maybe. I'm also gonna put interior in there, so I don't know what I'm gonna do with the inside yet. That might just be the old rattle can trick. I'm also thinking about a design down the side. If you're a graphic designer and you're watching this, please send me a message. One, you can probably do some cool shirt designs, but two, I want to get this thing some livery done for it, and I have no idea with where to start. So if you've got skills like that, please let me know. Paint and panel is a pain in the butt, but it's something that you just got to get done. So hopefully I can get a week's worth of work done. Kevo is now the main focus for the channel, and I'm going to be putting, I won't say all of my time because I've still got stuff going on left, right and center, but most of my time will be on Kevo, and this is the focus. So weekly episodes on Kevo you will be seeing, and hopefully by next week we can get the engine bay painted, so stay tuned for that. If you like what you see, please consider sharing this video to your social media. It helps get the video out there to more people for more eyes to see. Or if you want to buy some merch, please hit the merch store at theskidfactory.com. I also want to say, please support the companies that support the Skid Factory. And if you're buying something through one of these companies, just say something like, hey, I heard of you guys through the Skid Factory. That also helps me a lot. Thanks for watching. Kevo is back in full swing. Guess who's back? Kevo's back. I'm excited to get this car on the road. Enjoy the moment. I'll see you next week. Cheers.
If you enjoyed this video, please consider sharing it to your mates. They might like it too. What's not to love about a 1200 horsepower 2JZ powered VR Commodore? I've got a shout out for Abdul Elali, Carl Marsh, Matthew Newland, Scott Homer and Joel Penno. Thank you for supporting the Skid Factory via Patreon. What's for dinner? Mum's secret tuna corn recipe. Thanks, Mum. Love ya.
Hey Woody, it's Kevin here. Just letting you know I really miss you and I want you inside me, mate. So, yeah, if you could start a video again and, yeah, oh baby.
Remember, keep it steady. Don't have your hand up the top here. Yeah, there you go. All right. Are we going to be a wavy boat ride this time around, or are you going to be smooth and steady?
3, 2, 1.
I think that is the last of the fabrication for Kevo. There is a couple of little jobs I need to do there, but for the motorsport fabrication...
Now.
Okay, is this going to be the best one? All right. Oh, yeah, Xavier, dad joke. I'm a fan. Are you a fan?
Okay.
You ready? Are you recording?
That was already recorded.
Okay, sweet.
Your dad joke and I put it in
That one's going in the bloopers. Sweet. Hit this link for a new video, or an old video. Hit this link to buy some merch. Ben Brothers Skid Factory merch. Hit this link to subscribe. And if you want to support the show, maybe just share it to your friends. Thanks. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the moment. See you next time.